Now, we'll do another neuroscience because I've talked about these three things, or these four things: fight, flight, freeze, and fight indicators. And we also have fawn. So as part of the flight, freeze, fight indicators, and fawn is a more later emerging area of research that's not quite as thorough as flight, freeze, or fight, but is also involved. And these are reaction responses to a threat or to something causing stress typically outside the person. And they react this way through these four different dimensions. So again, when students, faculty, or staff feel threatened even by mild social threats, like being interrupted if interrupting is not part of the culture, receiving a critique, say on a paper or in an idea, being excluded from a discussion or meeting that the person may have felt they should have been a part of, it triggers this fight, flight, or freeze reaction. And now we've added fawn to the list to make it more robust and more accurate. So fight is a confrontation with the source of fear. So when you're afraid, one of the responses you might have is to go at the source of the fear, the other person or the conflict, whatever that is, and that brings that surge of energy to get engaged in a fight of some kind. It could be verbal or physical. Then flight is tied to escaping from the source of fear. So if there's a source coming in that's got you on edge, anxious, it doesn't have to be a major one. As we were saying, it can be a mild one. And it's tied to escaping. So to get away from or distance yourself from or others from the fear. Then freeze is a type of avoidance of the source of fear. So flight is avoidance as well as freeze. And what happens with freeze is you just stay still. Now it comes from evolutionary biology where when we froze, we blended in so we wouldn't get tracked by a predator. But now we see it in human behavior when we're in a conflict of some kind and we just get overwhelmed, so we just stay put or don't move cognitively. We might move physically, but not cognitively. And fawn is an effort to appease or please the source of fear. So, for example, if the source of fear is someone who is a threat or has some power over you, fawn would look like saying, rather than running away or fighting it, you'd say, what can I do to help? What can I do to please you? What do you need so I can appease you in some way so that I deal with the fear that way? So each one is a very valid form of managing conflict. We all go into different ones at different times. Sometimes we're aware, sometimes we're not. So what I'd encourage you to do is just notice what the signs are when you get into one of these states. Try and figure out when you get anxious or feel stress of some kind. Are you in fight mode where you want to go towards the source of fear and deal with it? Are you in flight mode where you want to get away? Are you in freeze where you're overwhelmed and you just don't do anything or don't think? Or fawn, you've got to go towards it and try and please or meet the needs of the source of fear. And one of the things is to decode the fear response. If you want to lower or de-escalate a response, what you can do is become familiar with your own unwanted reactions. Like if you run away every time, you want to be aware that that's your tendency. Or if you fawn all the time and become a people pleaser under stress, well, you may want to be aware of that just so you know. You don't have to change it, just so you know. And then you can regain a balanced state by using calming techniques, by calming yourself physically, behaviorally. You can calm yourself. That's why becoming familiar with the science of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn in yourself and others can be very useful when you notice, because the ultimate goal is to understand conflict so you can help yourself and others be more successful. So utilize empathy. As you show empathy and listening skills reflecting, my sense is you feel this way. And as you do that acknowledgement of how the experience they're having, that empathy actually calms their physiology down. They start to relax more when they're understood, when empathy is expressed. And the other person's more likely to be empathetic as well when you initiate empathy. Or maybe they'll start with empathy and it'll help you become more empathetic. But we really respond to the affect, the behavior, the emotions, and the way others carry themselves. We really respond to that. And others respond to ours. And remember, it's conscious and unconsciously that response happens. So let me just throw in here some of the signs of a stress response. So in your body, what would be a sign of a fight? Like what could happen? I mean, all of you are probably familiar to one degree or another of the fight response that you get. Some of the typical ones are your jaw tightens, your teeth grind, you have a feeling of intense anger welling up, and you may not be sure where it's coming from, but you feel the anger, and your stomach might tense. You might feel knots in your stomach or something that is uncomfortable in your stomach, or burning. A burning sensation can happen too, and all those are signs of fight in the body. But flight has a different set of signs. So in fight, we have like the jaw. I'm just giving you some examples, but jaw tightening, teeth are grinding, your legs are ready to run, towards the source of fear. Now, for flight, you might feel fidgety, tense, or trapped, like you have to move, you have to get out. You might constantly move your legs, feet, or arms in a way replicating moving away or escaping. So if you've ever, as a kid, if you were ever confronted with something you did wrong, kids often show this jitteriness, is kind of hard to sit still. And sometimes it's the flight response in their body, like this tense, ready to run, because your body's designed to protect itself, and running or moving away from the source of fear is one of the strategies that protects us and saves our life. You might feel numbness in arms and legs. Your eyes might become dilated and darting back and forth because you're tracking where the threat is coming from. All those are signs of flight. Now, freeze, which is also a sign of moving away, even though it keeps you in one place, is a sense of dread. I don't know if you've ever had that. I've experienced that, where you have this sense of dread. You're like, oh, I'm frozen. I feel frozen. You feel stiff or heavy or cold or too much to react. You might feel numbness in your arms and legs, or even your heart rate decreases. In flight, it often increases, so you're ready to run. Or in fight, it might increase, so you're ready to fight. But in freeze, it can decrease. And then body signs of fawning, you might become over-agreeing, not challenging anything, just saying, yes, whatever, I'll help, and actually violating your own boundaries in order to please the other person. So over-agreement. You might try to be overly helpful, even when it's not asked for. And you're trying to focus on the source of fear and make them happy, which relieves the threat towards you or reduces it towards yourself. So those are the four, like fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And just become aware of how they work in your body when you're in those situations. Oftentimes when we're under this tension, our self-awareness greatly goes way down, and we're less aware of ourselves because we're so in the state of reaction. And that's why I recommend doing, when you have time, a journal. Just reflect, on your phone or your laptop, or write it out by hand. And just when you notice those things, just jot them down and just increase your awareness. Now remember, from the beginning of this module, so many environments deal with conflict constantly. And when you manage it well, you're happier at work, you're more engaged, your brain works better for learning and productivity, sense of teamwork and connection to others goes up. It is worth learning this stuff. part of learning about conflict is learning about your own self, the way that you respond. That's really key.